Ladies and gentlemen, there is no intro. There's no pleasantries. There's going to be a video here in just a moment. But I know y'all know me. You know that I'm not some crazy right-wing conspiracy theory nut job. In fact, I am a crazy libertarian conspiracy theory nut job. So we're going to have a lot to talk about with my guest today. We're going to roll this intro. We're going to give people just a brief moment come in, and then this guy's got a hard out, so we'll get right into it. But let's get this queued up. Let's roll this intro, and let's get weird. Here we go.
The following is a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
I'll make questionable decisions. I'll be in fight of all I soul. Judge me for my sins. Upon your image.
All right. Now, we got to roll the credits. I got to at least give you guys your shout-outs. All the ads and stuff, you'll hear those in the audio, but I do have to give shout-outs to you guys in the Downers Club because you are what makes this show possible. If you want to join the Downers Club, you can go on over to patreon.com/thesystemsdown. You can get your name on this list with people like Matt Miller, Chris, Alex W., Sean Luke Picard, Gigi Vaughn, Lisa Debus, Keith Compston, Cole, and a whole bunch of other people with too hard to pronounce names that I'm not going to get to. But if you want to get your name on that list and possibly have it read and support this show because YouTube hates us and doesn't let us super chat at all, go to patreon.com/thesystemsdown and sign up for as little as the cost of one super chat per month, and you'll get all of our bonus content and much, much more. More weird, more raw, more offensive, more weekly content. Patreon.com/thesystemsdown. All right. Again, short episode. Fascinating guest. Looking forward to this one. It is the host of General Flynn's Reawaken America tour, Mr. Clay Clark. How are you doing, sir?
How are you? I'm doing very well. I really appreciate you for allowing me to be here with you. I love your intro. Love the whole energy there behind it. I appreciate you, and I'm ready for to drop some knowledge bombs.
Awesome, absolutely. Now, I wasn't super familiar with you. Your people reached out to my people, which is me, and I dug into some of your stuff. Thought it was a scam at first. I got to be honest, with all the names and everything you got going on. I was like, no, this isn't real. But you've got this kind of grassroots campaign going on, so. Give me a brief background on you and, what brought you to this point in life where you're hosting the Reawaken America tour with Alex Jones and General Flynn and all these people.
Well, you have probably been awake to what's going on longer than I have. I'm a guy that has grown many successful companies, and beginning in 2020 when the lockdowns happened, basically January 2020, when the talk of the lockdowns began, I knew about what was called the Rockefeller Plan, and I'd always thought, you got to be kidding me. This is not actually a real document that was written in 2010. This is, so I knew about the Rockefeller Plan. I had built successful companies, and I knew about that, and I thought, you got to be kidding me. And then when I found out that the models that said that 2.2 million Americans were going to die from COVID, and the guy who made the models was the chronically always wrong Neil Ferguson, I thought, you got to be kidding me. They're having Neil Ferguson from the Imperial College. That Neil Ferguson, he's going to run out these nefarious models, roll them out, that says that 2.2 million Americans would die. And then when I saw they were using Kerry Mullis, they were using his PCR test, the polymerase chain reaction test, which can easily be falsely calibrated to justify the lockdowns, quarantines, and curfews, I recognized, okay, they're doing the Rockefeller Plan. This is nuts. And so I, like a lot of your listeners, just asked God, I was like, God, how can you use my time, my treasure, and my talent to help save this nation? And I didn't get an audible voice. I would love to have had an audible voice. I wish there was a burning bush. I wish there was the moment where somebody, God says,
hello, can I come in?
Sure.
Yes. So here's the deal. What you need to do is team up with General Flynn and do a Reawaken America tour.
I didn't have that moment, but what I did was this feeling, this calling that I was supposed to do something. So I sued the mayor of Tulsa to keep the city of Tulsa unlocked down and open. I kept my own businesses open, and I began taking my show, the Thrive Time show, where we reach millions of people. We've been number one on iTunes 6 different times. And I thought, well, we could use that show and that platform, as big as it is, to get the message out to the world quickly. And I met with lieutenant governors and attorney generals, and to my shock, every time I met with someone and I pointed out to them that the models that said that 2.2 million Americans would die are false, the PCR tests are falsely calibrated, COVID-19 was created through synthetic gain-of-function research, where you take a naturally occurring virus from an animal and you seek to increase the transmissibility of that pathogen to infect humans. When I showed them that budesonide, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine were effective treatments for COVID-19, when I showed them that the system and method for testing for COVID-19 was patented in 2015, every time I was met with either indifference or almost it was like they were coached on how to respond to opposition.
Sure.
And so I just kept doing it, kept having weekly town halls. It kept growing. And then now we have the Reawaken America tour where General Flynn, myself, Sidney Powell, we've had Bobby Kennedy Jr., we've had Alex Jones, Owen Schroyer, basically Team Truth Movement, all these doctors and attorneys.
All the most evil people in the world, right? All the evil white supremacists and Nazis, right?
And we let you, name your price to attend these events. Mm-hmm. And my reward so far is Dominion, the election company, the former head of security and strategy for Dominion, Eric Coomer, who ran a moving vehicle into a parked building during the day and then denied it while talking to police on a body cam. That Eric Coomer is suing me. And this past month, I spent over $110,000 defending myself versus the accusations of Eric Coomer. So that's where I'm at. That's why I'm doing it. I'm just trying to do my part to help reawaken America to the truth about election fraud, medical fraud, religious fraud, and getting people back to God.
So was this whole tour, was this kind of your creation, like your brainchild, or was this somebody else coming to you being like, can you, kind of spearhead this thing?
I was laying in bed. To answer your question, it came out of my head, but I don't want to take credit for something. I was laying in bed, and I just couldn't sleep very well. And I normally sleep really well. I mean, I basically get up at 3 a.m. I like to work till about 6, hang out with my family till about 9, go to bed. And I can normally just fall asleep. I hop in bed and just, I'm out. I'm the kind of guy that can fall asleep in any movie, just out. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't sleep. And my wife is like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I just feel like God is calling me to do these Reawaken America Tour events with General Flynn. And my background before all this, I quit doing it in 2007, but up until 2007, 2008, I had built one of America's largest wedding DJ entertainment companies where we would do 4,000 weddings and or corporate events per year. Wow. So organizing massive events and the big screens and the speaker systems and all the details that go into it, promoting it, security, that's not hard for me. But I hadn't done anything like that, since 2008, 2009. And here we are 13 years later, and nobody was willing to, that I knew of, was willing to do these events. And so I'm so glad now you've got folks like Charlie Kirk who's done events. But our events are raw. They're just like unfiltered truth, and you can name your price. So by the way, open invitation to you. Sure. If you ever want to come to these events, and I try to get as many of the truth-telling podcasters that maybe don't have as big of a name yet. I try to give them an opportunity to meet some of the speakers, and I'm just trying to expand the platform because really the future of media, in my opinion, is new media. It's truthers. And 80% of people have stopped watching 60 Minutes in the past 90 days, and people are looking for the truth somewhere. So I feel like I need to help amplify X22, SGT Report, and Vandersteel, and some of my friends I've met through this movement. So.
Gotcha. Now, I am curious because, again, a conspiracy guy myself, but I also am I'm to the level of I don't trust other conspiracy guy people. So the one good thing that came out of COVID is what you're talking about, kind of the experience that you had where some of these people who are just kind of walking through life doing the 9-to-5 thing are starting to go, hey, there's some shady shit going on out there. But one thing that rubs me the wrong way is you brought up like X22. What are your thoughts on the Q theory stuff? Are you pro?
Well, yeah,
is this a QAnon movement or what is it?
Let's talk about this for a second.
Sure.
I look at when people say Q, I look at that like LifeSite News. I look at that like Rumble.com. I look at that like One America. Mm-hmm. Anytime I get news sent to me, like if you sent me a news story, which you haven't, but if you did, or I sent you one, I always go back to where did you get this information from, and is this information true? And one of the problems that I have personally, this is just me, is anybody that tells a large audience of people, sit back and enjoy the popcorn because we've all got it figured out. It's going to happen. And it requires you to do nothing. That reminds me of when you go to the business world, back in the business world, there would be these get-rich workshops that people would invite me to as a speaker. Mm-hmm. They would say, Clay, you've had a lot of success. Could you be a speaker at our event? And I was only tricked twice. So one of the events I went to, and I delivered a speech about time management and sales. And then I was like, I'm going to stick around and watch the next speaker. And they're like, no, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. And I go, no, I would love to see. And I saw a speaker that came after me who was pitching a get rich quick, do nothing kind of plan. Mm-hmm. And then the speaker after that guy was a household name. And that's how they did it. They'd put a household name and then a get rich quick guy. Then a household name, then a get rich quick guy. And they would just do that kind of thing. And they would pull off the perceived credibility of somebody with a bigger name. And they would try to use that to pitch the do nothing and get rich plan. Sit back, do nothing, then all of a sudden you'll get rich. And I feel like within the Patriot movement, there's a little bit of that going on. Yeah. Where there are some theories that would indicate that you, as a citizen, need to do nothing because it's all under control. Right. And I'll just say this. President Trump has 5 people that are very close to him. Okay. You have Kash Patel, and someone's looking at my hand going, he's doing some sort of hand signal. Here it is. Look at no. Everything's a hand signal. There you go. So you have Kash Patel. That's Trump's chief of staff. You have Peter Navarro. You have General Flynn. You have Eric Trump, and you have Don Jr. Of those 5, we've had 4 of them participate in the tour. And I can tell you they're all very confident that President Trump will get back in office because of the landslide. I mean, right now, according to The Hill, which is not a conservative or a super accurate polling institution, but The Hill shows that only 27% of Americans support Joe Biden. Another example, the actual cost of food, gas, building things is up well over 20% in Oklahoma. And Joe Biden's approval rating is well under 20%. So, I mean, you're talking about a time where you might have seen one of the better presidents, President Trump, immediately followed by the worst president. It's a time where the inflation rate is actually higher than the president's approval rating. So because of that, pragmatically, a lot of the people close to President Trump are very encouraged by what's happening. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they need every single person to get out there and vote. I don't know if people know this, but since 2019, Christian Broadcasting, which again is not the end-all be-all of facts, but they reported that there were 15 million Christians that weren't even registered to vote in America. That's a problem when you have a Judeo-Christian nation that was founded on those principles, and you've got 15 million not even voting. So election fraud is huge, but the election fraud of Americans knowingly not voting is a problem.
Sure. Yeah. I agree to some extent. Like there's the extreme libertarian side of me that's like, yeah, voting is just, giving the shadowy figures that actually do, work these elections. They're giving them exactly what they want. But I don't know what the solution is. I don't entirely trust elections. Like I think that Donald Trump got screwed, and I also think that it's all rigged anyway. So I'm not really sure where I stand on that. But would you say that? What's that?
Can I chime in on that just real
Absolutely.
quick?
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, we have a mayor by the name of G.T. Bynum, okay? And he ran as a Republican. And he is definitely not Republican. So if you were in Tulsa and you voted, you had the opportunity to choose between an outspoken liberal Democrat and a conservative Republican. The problem is the conservative Republican that you voted for is not a conservative Republican. And I just sent you a link, by the way, so feel free to share or don't share with the listeners. But this is the story of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you can see the leadership of Tulsa, Oklahoma, how it's been corrupted for a long time. So I think you have the illusion of choice in many elections. And I would say the illusion of choice in business, by the way. You have BlackRock and Vanguard. Yeah. And so, you might feel like, I'm not going to go with Pepsi. I'm going to go with Coke because I don't do Pepsi. I do Coke. I don't agree with the politics of Pepsi, so I'm going Coke. And you're really supporting the same two organizations. Right. Or you might say, I don't do Republicans, I do Democrats. and then you're voting for the same. So anyway, I think there's a lot of controlled opposition.
I couldn't agree more. So, would you say, as like a Christian guy, conspiracy type guy, or at least as the media paints you, I mean, what really is a conspiracy guy at this point? If you don't believe the flagrant lies in the media, then you are a conspiracy theorist. So what even does that mean? But would you say that Donald Trump was like ordained by God, and he is this, the evangelical right has I think a problem with idol worship, frankly, when it comes to politicians, and they kind of look at Trump and gloss over all of his faults and say he's not a Democrat, so he is ordained by God and he's great. What would you say to that?
I think that's a great question. Let me just for 1 second, okay? I'm not dodging your question. I promise I'll answer it. Your listeners will know I will do it, okay?
Sure.
I just want to play this real quick. This is Yuval Noah Harari, and Yuval Noah Harari is the lead advisor for Klaus Schwab, okay? And if someone says, how can you prove that? He speaks as the keynote at the World Economic Forum often. He is known as the top advisor of Bill Gates, of Mark Zuckerberg, of Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
And he was asked to share his thoughts on the Great Reset agenda. And I'm just going to hit play so you can hear just briefly. Okay,
the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people. The problem is more boredom. And what to do with them, and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless? My best guess at present is a combination of drugs and computer games as a solution for more. It's already happening in under different titles, different headings. You see more and more people spending more and more time or solving their inner problems with drugs and computer games, both legal drugs and illegal drugs. You look at Japan today, and Japan is maybe 20 years ahead of the world in everything, and you see all these new social phenomenon of people having relationships with virtual spouses, and you have people who never leave the house and just live through computers. I think once you
so that's their worldview over there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that's one more for you, and then I'm going to answer your question very, very directly. You've all know Harari again. Everyone needs to know his name because this guy openly is the one leading the Great Reset narrative with Klaus Schwab, but nobody talks about him because he works via proxy. So he'll say stuff that is so insane that it's almost unbelievable he's saying this. Let me hit play here. This is Yuval Noah Harari.
You know, to understand how a virus works, forget about the pandemic.
Now, this is him at the New York Times summit. Listen how he explains COVID-19.
I think the big process that's happening right now in the world is hacking human beings, the ability to hack humans.
He says the big process is we're hacking humans, the ability to hack humans. He continues. One more sound clip here for you of Yuval Noah Harari.
If this was the moment when everything became monitored, that we agreed to be surveyed all the time, not just in authoritarian regimes, but even in democracies. And maybe most importantly at all, this was the moment when surveillance started going under the skin.
So that's their guy. Yuval Noah Harari. He also says Jesus is fake news. He says human rights are fake news. He says the Bible's fake news. I'm quoting him. He said we can hack humans. He says we need to remove all authority. So I'll call that Team Satan because that's how they describe themselves. Okay, so then over on Team Christ, Team Jesus. Team Jesus is in favor of free will. So this is how I would drop my org chart. And I spent about $2 on this, so work with me on the props here. Okay. So you got Team Satan versus Team God, okay? So Team God, we have a manual called the Bible. Team Satan has COVID-19, the Great Reset, which is an actual book these nefarious idiots have actually written right here. This is their actual playbook, followed up by The Great Narrative, which is an equally terrible book. Here we go, The Great Narrative. All right, there we go. So there we go. So that's their playbook. Then underneath here, our person fighting the hardest against Team Satan in terms of free will is Trump. Their guy is Klaus Schwab. Now, do I think that Klaus Schwab was appointed by Satan to work directly for Satan? I don't know that. I just know that he's definitely wanting to remove free will. It's insanity. And his top advisor is Yuval Noah Harari. And Trump's top advisors are Peter Navarro, Kash Patel, General Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
Their team wants total control. Team Trump wants free will. Satan wants hell. God wants salvation. There we go. So back in 2003, there was a man by the name of Kim Clement, who I've met his daughter. I never met Kim Clement because Kim Clement is now dead. Okay, he's no longer with us. However, he did these things they're now called prophetic rewinds. But Kim was a man I've met his daughter. Like I said, I never met him. But he would get up there and he would say things like this from the pulpit. So let me just hit play real quick here. Let me cue it up here. I'm getting there. Hang in there. Stay on target.
How long is this?
Okay.
So I want to get to more questions.
There you go. This is one example. This is from 2013. Okay, here we go. 2015. What a trumpet there. Here we go.
Trump shall become a trumpet. Are you listening to me?
This is 2007.
I will raise up the Trump to become a trumpet.
So there's people out there that based upon those prophecies from 2007, where he's talking about a Trump will become a trumpet. Mm-hmm. That being said, like, I don't agree with the endorsement of Dr. Oz today by President Trump. I don't agree.
Do you agree with Trump's endorsement of Fauci by keeping him in power?
No, not at all.
Okay. I mean, it's hard to justify things like that in the fact that lockdowns happened under Trump.
This would be my take to it. If I was on the podium, me personally, this is how I would handle it, okay? So if I was on the podium and I was the president, got the red tie, got the thing, and you said, remember all those ridiculous press conferences with the scarf queen?
Yeah.
I would have said, everybody, my name is President Clay Clark. Here's the deal. I believe in the Constitution. I don't believe the Constitution is at all suspendable based upon statistical numbers. Let's say that the models that said the 2.2 million Americans would die from COVID-19 were 100% true. We still can't lock down. Let's say the models are false. We still can't lock down. So you as an American can make whatever decision that you want to make because I believe in the Constitution. That's how we're going to do it. And that's all. That's what I would have done. That's my worldview, and I have demonstrated that by keeping my own businesses open. That being said, I know that every time I tried to get information into and through the White House, Dr. Simone, let me just tell you this. My friend, Dr. Zelenko, he's treated 7,000 COVID patients with 3 deaths.
Okay.
My friend, Dr. Sherwood, has treated 7,000 patients with 0 deaths. Every time I tried to get this information to the White House, I would always get a generic blocked. They'd always say, well, you got to talk to Mark Meadows. You got to talk to Mark Meadows. And Mark Meadows is big pharma kind of guy. So that being said, I've spoken to Peter Navarro about this. Peter Navarro has called out Fauci for being gross, and Peter Navarro was close to Trump. I also know Pence was essentially appointed by the Republican Party. Pence is definitely not on our team. So I would just say of Trump's inner circle, I've talked to Eric Trump. I really do agree with Eric. I agree with Peter Navarro. General Flynn's been calling out those vaccines. I mean, he's one of the only big leaders I know that's been saying, don't put that RNA-modifying nanotechnology inside your body. Eric Trump has been questioning heavily Moderna and their whole origins. I don't know. I disagree with President Trump's decision to keep Fauci up there. Sure. I would not have put him up there.
Yeah, it just, I mean, I understand, like, the appeal. He's certainly better than Joe Biden, but at the same time, the lockdowns happened under Donald Trump. And now he's pushing the vaccine, and he's supporting the vaccine, and he's bragging about having a booster.
Well, let me say this to you, too. This is a little wild here. There are people that, like, this right here is me drinking from a cup. It's a styrofoam cup. And there's some people that will go, the reason why he's drinking through the styrofoam cup is he's sending a signal to the styrofoam community that we are going to be moving away from the Green New Deal. And someone else will say, the reason why he has a crooked small finger is because that crooked small finger indicates that he suffered. And I've seen some of these comments, and I'm like, what? Yeah. So all I'm saying is this, is I believe that God is infallible, and I put blind trust in God.
Sure.
I believe that Bill Belichick is a great football coach. I don't put blind faith in Bill Belichick or President Donald J. Trump. I don't do it. I can say on average, I agree with President Trump more than most presidents in recent past. However, I'm also friends with Roger Stone, so I know Roger Stone very well. And I asked Roger Stone directly. I said, Roger, was this particular president a pedophile? And I asked him about specific pet presidents. And he goes, oh, yeah. And I'm like, what about this guy? I said, is there that? I mean, Madison Cawthorn's talked about all the drugs and all the sex parties in D.C. Is that real? He goes, oh, yeah. So, I mean, the level of corruption in D.C. is so much bigger than anybody could possibly fathom. So I would just say to anybody out there, what can you do? If you go to timetofreeamerica.com and you never buy anything from me, great. But if you go to timetofreeamerica.com and you click on the button that says the truth, it's a free button. I'm not trying to sell you something. Just go to timetofreeamerica.com. Okay. And the button here says, who is the man leading COVID-19, the Great Reset? It would do well for your listeners to know that Yuval Noah Harari and Klaus Schwab are the two people at the tip of the spear leading the Great Reset narrative. Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari. Second, it would be very important for your listeners to know the truth about BlackRock and Vanguard and any organization connected to Vanguard and BlackRock. 3, it's very important for your listeners to know about Big Pharma. And I don't care whether it's Ron DeSantis in Florida, whether it's Kristi Noem in South Dakota, anybody that you look up online, see who's funding them. And if you see Big Pharma heavily financing anybody, that needs to sound the alarm. And again, I mentioned specific conservatives right there because I tend to lead libertarian conservative.
Sure.
That's my worldview, but you got to look out for Big Pharma funding.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, I know that we are short on time. I did want to ask, what do you mean by reawaken? Where was this first awakening, and or is this just like the prequel to a first tour that I didn't?
Well, someone could argue with me about this. I believe that the founding fathers of our nation were deeply flawed not perfect.
Sure.
I believe they came over here to escape the tyranny of Britain. And they came over here with an eyes wide open, awake worldview of like, we're willing to do whatever it takes to earn our freedoms. They were awake to what tyranny does and what it's like to live as slaves. So I believe they were willing to die for their country. They were awake when they made that decision. They were sober. They were ready to go. They were like, whatever we need to do. Maybe Sam Adams wasn't sober, but you get the idea. They were awake. And I believe that since that time, we've been taught that if we're willing to give up just a little safety, we get just a little. If we give up just a little bit of liberty, we'll get a little more safety. And then sometimes they go, "Do you want some of your liberty back? Because if you do, then we need to take a little more of your liberty because the safety thing. Do you want to board the airplane? Because if you do, we got the Patriot Act. We got to pad you down, and then we got to." Now, because of COVID, we got to pad you down, wear a mask, stand 6 feet apart. And now we're going to have to, do the chip and then the universal ID thing. And now ID 20, and now we got to put a chip inside your body for your safety, and then we just got to make sure you're safe. We just want you to, the CDC is just calling you to survey you, and their 5G towers are up just to keep you safe. And now there's new drones that are out, drones flying over for your safety, just to make sure to mitigate the spread of the virus. And then we want a Tesla car that makes sure you don't drive too fast. And we could shut it off if we feel like you're going too fast or outside of your range, but it's all for your safety because we care so much about your safety. And then if you Jewish guys would just hop in that the quarantine camp, back in World War II, we're doing this for your safety, 1938. And that's what's going on. So I think it's the reawakening versus the Great Reset. And if we don't wake up to the truth and get involved, this nation is going down. So I encourage everybody, go to timetofreeamerica.com, do your research, and I do appreciate you lowering your standards between 2% and 4% to allow me to be here on your show. Thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Clay, it's great having you. And yeah, I don't mean to be like abrasive or anything. I would love to have you on for a longer conversation when you have some time, because there's lots of stuff I'd like to pick your brain on. And we're usually more casual and laid back than this, but had to get a few questions in there, and I know you're a busy guy. So thank you for giving me the time. And yeah, if you guys come through my area, I'll definitely check out what you got going on.
Also, promise I make to you and your listeners right here on the show, if you want to come out to any event, I'd love to get you a behind-the-scenes pass so you can just kind of cover it objectively about what you liked or what you didn't or what was great or what wasn't or whatever. And then if anybody goes to the timetofreeamerica.com and you look at the speakers, if you don't like any of the speakers, if you say, that speaker's crap, I'm the one that selects all the speakers. So
it's your fault.
Anybody who's not a great addition is my fault. And I think it's very important for people to know that, because we're not sponsored by, the Reawaken America. We don't say,
Welcome to the Reawaken America tour, where we're sponsored by Big Pharma to expose the corruption of Big Pharma. And our next speaker is Matt Schlapp, who's supported by the George Soros crap.
We don't do that kind of stuff. It's just my wife and I and our 5 kids, and we don't take an income. We don't take a salary. And a housekeeping note, Myrtle Beach, right now we have 4 tickets left for Myrtle Beach. That's in May. And then we have Virginia Beach in July. And that's the only 2 that I know of right now. And I know General Flynn really wants to take this to New York, so we're working on the details for that. But I do appreciate you carving out time to allow me to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here, Clay. We may disagree on some things, but where you go into the truth and all that fun stuff, I will happily join you. So thanks for being here, man, and you have a good one. We'll talk to you later. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys, nice little mini-sode there for you. And I know a lot of y'all screaming in the chats, oh, it's just more QAnon stuff. But hey, if somebody was like hardcore QAnon, I would still have them on to talk to them, because I don't care if I disagree with you, because that's the whole fucking point of this show. So if you don't like it, then get your own show and, talk about whatever you want. So it's interesting. Like, I don't want to talk too much. You guys probably already know where I have disagreements with Clay and all that, but the guy's reaching out. He's talking to people that he disagrees with, so I got to give him props for that. But yeah, you decide for yourself. Do your own research. Do so with discernment. Do so with, humility and an open mind, but discernment to actually know what is true. I'm not buying the Q stuff. I'm not buying the Trump stuff. I don't think Trump's the savior, but if Trump came out and started speaking some truth, I would certainly applaud him on it. So as far as that goes, Clay addressed a lot of my issues, and, he's a businessman. Like, I'm not going to speak negative at all while he's not here to defend himself. Clay, if you ever want to come back on, if I've said something here in the aftermath that you want to respond to, you're more than welcome, because I don't know if you guys remember, back in the day, the show was more so about having on people that I disagree with and talking about that type of stuff before I got so heavily into liberty, drama, and a bunch of bullshit, which we're going to talk about on Wednesday. Don't you worry. Wednesday, I've got a very busy, hectic schedule this week, and I shouldn't have taken this time to do this right now, and I shouldn't be doing it on Wednesday, but for you guys, I will. On Wednesday at 2 p.m., we're going to be talking about the news and roasting a bunch of it. And yeah, so, tune in for that and stuff. I forgot where my train of thought was going, but Clay, thank you for coming on. Cool guy, we all figure out things in our own way. I would have agreed with him 100% just a couple years ago, so it's all good, no worries. And if he's also bringing on like Alex Jones, Del Bigtree, and stuff like that. So I'm sure he doesn't agree with everything Alex Jones has to say. I'm sure he doesn't agree with everything that Del Bigtree has to say. But I do think if it is in good faith and this is as legit thing that he is presenting here, then by all means, let's get everybody together who's against the mainstream narrative, and let's talk at the very least, and let's piss off all the right people. So do your own thinking, do your own research, and question everything. Stay uncomfortable. I'll see you Wednesday, 2 p.m. corn time. Until then, bye-bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe on your way out and help us change the world one uncomfortable conversation at a time. And if you like what you hear and you want to hear more, go join the Downers Club at patreon.com/thesystemsdown for bonus episodes of the show every single week. Until next time, please continue to question everything, stay uncomfortable, and I'll talk to you then. Thanks.
This has been a Goulash Media production. goulashmedia.net.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.